All right, I am back from my walk around many parts of San Francisco. It was a good one. Every 30, 45 minutes, I'd shoot a 49ers video about part of the 53-man roster. Everything that I shot today is up, including the live. So they cut down the roster to 53 this afternoon. I figure it deserves position by position attention. That's what I'm doing. I've gotten through about half of the position groups, and I figure that tomorrow morning I'll have my chance to go through the other half. But I wanted to get home, wanted to do a standard live, wanted to talk about the actual 53-man breakdown piece that we have up on the Athletic. There it is for you up on the screen. So you can go ahead and sign up for $1 a month right now. I'm very proud, and Matt Barrows, who I co-wrote this with, he texted me this earlier today. He's like, we almost nailed our 53-man roster, like 100%. It's the closest that I've seen us. I think we've been working together for 6 years or so. It's the closest we've been in that time on this 53-man projection. I've never seen anybody nail it at 100%. I know we were a couple names off, but still, something worth beating our chests over. It's always fun to try to predict that throughout the course of August, throughout the grind of training camp. Kind of a symbolic turning of the page, right? When you finally have that 53-man roster in hand, you know who made the team, you know who didn't, and you get ready for the next phase of the roster building process, which is a prediction of the practice squad. Anyway, if you go and check the description, you've got the link to the 53-man roster analysis. It's $1 a month. We're on sale right now for the Athletic. So why don't you go ahead and subscribe, because this is where you're going to get your most insightful 49ers coverage of the year. You could subscribe right through the article that is up there on the screen. I'm going to put the link in the comment section as well to help you out, or the chat section, if you will. It's right there. So go ahead and click on that, but it is in the description right now. Okay, so I will now take that off, and we're going to talk about the 49ers roster building process and the next step of what they're going to do. Well, technically, the next step is they're going to fill out the practice squad. We might as well predict the 49ers practice squad, right? Since we got the 53-man roster so close, we can predict the practice squad with these 16 or technically 17 names, because Alfredo Gutierrez would be on the practice squad, but he won't count against the 16-man limit. All right, predicting the 49ers practice squad. Jack Coletto, I think that's an obvious one that the 49ers want, the fullback, versatile guy. 4 wideouts. I think this because 2 of the wideouts on the 53, Danny Gray and Ray McLeod, are currently hurt. So I really like Tay Martin. I know he had a really productive training camp for the 49ers. Willie Snead made the catch of training camp from Trey Lance in the end zone at the end of that one long practice. Willie Snead, good practice squad guy. He could return punts. He could deliver on special teams, was already on the 49ers practice squad last year. Expect him to be back. Chris Conley, out of all these 4 receivers, Conley might have done the most damage during training camp. I mean, he's fast too. He's a good blocker. If he's not picked up elsewhere, I think Chris Conley's a guy that Kyle Shanahan would certainly want to have around. And more of a project, Isaiah Winstead. I think if they could bring back Isaiah Winstead, they love the height. He's the biggest receiver. Might even look at Isaiah Winstead as somebody who can spell Juwan Jennings next season, or even this season if he starts developing a little bit earlier. But normally these receivers, you wait for season 2, especially under Kyle Shanahan. Juwan Jennings only under contract this season. He's a restricted free agent, maybe too pricey to bring back next year, even as an RFA. Look at Isaiah Winstead as somebody that the 49ers can develop behind the scenes. I took this long walk, as you know, around the city. I'm chewing a little bit of ice right now, as you can hear there. That's the last piece of ice. It's Indian summer in the city. It's not that hot, but stuff is melting a little bit quicker than you'd expect. I'll keep this up on the screen right next to my head here as we read off the rest of my projected practice squad. I think Leroy Watson is a guy the 49ers would love to have back. Leroy, of course, it was Labor Day weekend last year that the 49ers picked up Leroy Watson, who I believe was the Falcons before them, right? The Falcons waived him. Then the 49ers picked up Leroy, and he had just converted from tight end at college with Spencer Burford at UTSA to offensive line. He might have still been under 300 pounds. So it's been quite the year for Leroy Watson. Offensive line conversion on the 49ers practice squad last year, has put on a lot of weight, is still quick. just a little too soon in his conversion efforts to be on the 53-man roster. So he saw some second team work during this camp. I think the 49ers would love Leroy Watson on their practice squad. Then you've got Ilm Manning and Jason Poe, the two undersized guys, the underdogs who have really scrapped and played well. I thought Poe made some major improvements in how he anchored against bull rushers this training camp. I think 49ers would love both of them back on the practice squad. Just not enough size yet, not enough upside to put on that 53-man roster. So these guys are going to have to work for it the hard way. Same thing with Joey Fisher coming out of the small school, Shepherd University. Really impressed the 49ers, impressed everybody coming out of college. He put up 30-something bench press reps, the most of any O-line prospect. If he had been invited to the combine, Joey Fisher would have exceeded everybody at the combine, all the offensive linemen. So the 49ers love him. They gave him a big signing bonus, and I expect them to bring him back to the practice squad if he's not claimed on waivers. Two linebackers, Marcelino McCrary-Ball. I mean, he was the odd man out in that room this year. They took everybody. They didn't trade anybody. Maybe Oren Burks getting hurt against the Raiders, that knee injury when he collided with Devontae Adams, cooled any potential trade market for the 49ers at linebacker this year. But if they could sneak McCrary-Ball onto the practice squad, they're going to maintain their options there. I think Curtis Robinson will make the practice squad. I mean, he's good too. The 49ers have the best linebacker core in all of football, hands down, the best linebacker core in football. And I'm talking 1 through 8. 6 made the 53. I think 2 more might make the practice squad. That'd be 8 linebackers staying in the building. That is impressive for the 49ers. Then Deshaun Jameson. I know that he knocked a lot of people's socks off early in camp. Then he had that one muff punt return. What was that? That was week 2, right? That was against the Broncos. Not great for Deshaun Jameson. I think the 49ers are going to try to find more reliability to start the season at punt returner. But still, Deshaun Jameson covered well through OTAs, covered well through camp, saw action on the outside, saw it at slot cornerback. Bona fide candidate that you would want on your practice squad coming off of undrafted free agency. So look out for Deshaun Jameson. If the 49ers can keep him around, they'll be really happy. It's a gamble they decided to take. You know, some people said, oh, they shouldn't take that gamble. 49ers are betting. You know, other teams, it's a lot easier to covet a player when you're talking about a spot on your 90-man roster. It's not as easy to covet a player when you're talking about a spot on your 53-man roster. There's less room. So these guys that are exposed to waivers, there is a better chance that the 49ers are going to be able to put them on their keep them on their football team, on their practice squad right now than you'd expect, just because other teams are also dealing with roster constraints. Then we go down to where are we at? Quantrez Knight. Yeah, versatile guy. Probably a player that you think more of the practice squad until he breaks through at the NFL level. And he's going to have an injury or something's going to have to happen in front of him to have a chance. But the thing about Quantrez Knight is he could play nickel. He could play safety. He could play outside cornerback. He's a Swiss Army knife. So you're talking about making your luck at the NFL level. You have to get lucky, but you have to also put yourself in position to be lucky. Somebody like Quantrez Knight that can play so many different positions, I think is definitely putting himself in position to get that lucky break. So I do expect the 49ers to try to bring him back. Defensive line, I got 3 of them. Marlon Davidson, T.Y. McGill, Alex Barrett, all 3 of whom, and Davidson and McGill are interior linemen. Barrett's a defensive end. All 3 of these guys were really good this training camp. Barrett, maybe his most productive training camp. He's a perennial guy on the 49ers practice squad. They love his body out there, so they're going to try to get Alex Barrett back. But McGill and Davidson are 2 defensive tackles who can be productive on any given Sunday in spot duty, just like T.Y. McGill was last year. So look out for Marlon Davidson and T.Y. McGill to be back on this 49ers team. And then don't forget Alfredo Gutierrez. He's not going to make the 53. He's not going to play in a real game, but Alfredo, the 49ers love having him around. He's the international exception player. So they're going to get an exemption for him to be on the practice squad and not count against the 16 spots. So that is predicting the 49ers practice squad 1 through 17, technically, with Alfredo Gutierrez on there. So lately, and I know the headline is Quit the 49ers Drama. Trey Lance, Nick Bosa, and San Francisco Super Bowl chances. Oh my goodness, has the drama been huge lately. I think the Nick Bosa noise, and I guess it was some kind of Reddit report saying, oh, I broke the Christian McCaffrey news 3 weeks before it happened. First off, he didn't break anything because it hadn't happened yet. The person that breaks the news is technically the one that reports it after it happens. This sounds, if this is even true, if this Reddit person did say something about the Christian McCaffrey to the 49ers trade 3 weeks earlier, it sounds like one of these people that throws up a bunch of crap up against the wall, sees what sticks, and then comes back later, a year later, and says, see, I told you so, but they don't point out the 85 times that they were wrong. A couple of these 49ers accounts that are like nameless that like talk about 49ers news. I'm not talking about the SF Niners or our SF 49ers. Those are both good guys. I think it's Brad and Raj run those two accounts. But just talking about these totally anonymous accounts, I noticed they were making like predictions yesterday. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. One of them said, Il Manning, I have a source that Il Manning is going to make the 49ers 53-man roster. And I was like, oh, really? I made a mental bookmark. I didn't bookmark it myself. I'm like, I wonder if you really do have a source or if you're just guessing because somebody like Matt Mayoko projected Il Manning to be on the 53-man roster. You're just guessing, and then you're going to come back and say that you knew that you had the source all along. Fast forward 24 hours, Il Manning did not make the 49ers 53-man roster. So, I mean, there you have it. The same thing as this Reddit situation. Oh, I have it from a source. I was right about Christian McCaffrey 3 weeks ahead of time. Nick Bosa is going to get traded. Well, I don't know if you were right about Christian McCaffrey. I think that you just guessed, and that guess happened to coincide with what happened. You weren't actually reporting anything a year ago. So don't try to take that fake credibility and apply it to a Nick Bosa report. Obviously, it's the NFL. The NFL is a lot of things. Fair and predictable are not two of them. Okay, so I get it. So sometimes unpredictable stuff is going to happen. But I already talked about, a lot of people trying to equate the DeForest Buckner trade with a potential trade of Nick Bosa. Different situations, right? It's not like they're deciding between Bosa and somebody else like they were between Buckner and Armstead and picks and salary cap capital, all that stuff. It was a much different situation in 2020 when the 49ers were going through that thought process. We're now sitting in 2023. And I mean, just listen to what John Lynch has said. He said that Nick Bosa is untouchable. Now, there is a bigger question happens if Nick Bosa really doesn't want to play for the 49ers, which I haven't gathered at all. I think that he loves the locker room. I talked about him interacting with Trent Williams last year. He thinks iron sharpens iron. He's in there. He feels like it's the Pro Bowl, right? He's in there with a bunch of other superstars. I don't think that it's a case that he doesn't want to play for the 49ers. But hypothetically speaking, say that he was like, nope, I don't want to play for them. What would Nick Bosa's course of action be? Well, he would say, I'm not signing a contract. And he would just sit there and try to freeze the 49ers out until they traded him. That being said, Bosa's camp and the 49ers camp agreed to keep everything in-house, which tells me they're working on a contract. It wouldn't make sense for Bosa's camp to keep everything in-house if he had demanded a trade. Last year, Deebo Samuel demanded a trade. He didn't keep it in-house. That was his way of negotiating. Definitely didn't want to keep it in-house. He wanted to put the 49ers' feet to the fire publicly because that's how you get traded somewhere. So the fact that this is all in-house, that we haven't heard a peep come from the 49ers about contract details, that we haven't heard a peep come from Brian Ayrault, who's Nick Bosa's representative, come about contract details, that's your biggest hint that they're talking contract. They're not talking, I want to trade out of here. Anyway, NFL is unpredictable. I get it. This kind of stuff is predictable. The fact that you're going to hear all these crazy rumors, especially after Trey Lance actually got traded. Now, there's a big difference, right? We expected the 49ers to pursue trade opportunities for Trey Lance. We just weren't sure if he was going to be tradable. He ended up being tradable because Jerry Jones had a wild hair up his nose and decided to send the 49ers a fourth rounder while picking up the entirety of Trey Lance's remaining contract. The other offers on the table for Trey Lance, I'm not sure if those would have been good enough for the 49ers to take, but the one from the Cowboys was good enough, so they decided to ship him away. But just because that happened doesn't mean that something with Nick Bosa is going to happen. But I understand that fans are probably a little bit more on edge, a little bit more on alert, because a big move has occurred already within the past few days, and maybe another big move in their heads might occur. But I just don't see it happening with Nick Bosa. That's why I'm focusing on what matters. and that's the 49ers 53-man roster, because the 53-man roster is what's going to determine, in large part, whether or not the 49ers can win a Super Bowl this year. And another way that they can maximize their Super Bowl chances is to eliminate any possible distractions leading up to the season. Find a way to get this Bosa deal done, but you got to do it within the context of the larger salary cap. You can't screw yourself in 2024, so you got to make a good business decision. This is why they paid the big bucks to John Lynch, to Parag Marate, all those guys. They have to wrap Bosa up. So you get all of that done, and then you turn your attention to September 10th, and the coaching staff and the players can turn their attention to September 10th right now. There is one more piece of roster building, big piece, that has to happen, and that's the practice squad. And after that happens, the 49ers are going to practice on Wednesday and Thursday, and then they're going to move on to the Labor Day weekend, where they get to have a little bit of time off, and then they come back on Monday, and then on Wednesday they have their first game planning practice for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they want to eliminate distractions right now. They want to heal up right now. On that front, you got to get in the training room. You got to figure out who your practice squatters are going to be to bolster positions like kicker, where Jake Moody is dealing with a strained quad. We're probably going to learn a lot about how this 49ers team is going to be built tomorrow through the practice squad, through, how they're going to handle potential replacements for Jake Moody. The front office has got to do its job with Nick Bosa. Hopefully there's some traction for the 49ers there found over the next few days or before September 10th. And then they're locked, loaded, ready to go for Pittsburgh. So it's $1 a month for the Athletic. This is up. It's in the description. It's our 53-man roster breakdown. So go ahead and check it out. I'm going to open this up to a 49ers Q&A. Let's go. Q&A. I've got some energy after my walk today. So I need to drink my cold water. Oh, this is so good. Man. Yeah, this is a good recommendation. The oldest Italian, the focaccia place, right? On the corner of Stockton and Filbert. A must go for my food list. I will go there. I know they run out of focaccia by 1 p.m. though. So I got to go a little earlier. Maybe tomorrow I can go earlier in the day. I'll probably bike around tomorrow. We don't have press conferences until 2 p.m. That's Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch a little bit later in the afternoon. Mike asks a good question. What was the most surprising part of the 53-man roster? Well, that's a good question, Mike. I'm thinking right now. Probably for me, Nick Zakelj making the 53-man, but I wasn't shocked by it. Like I said, we predicted our 53-man almost to a T. I didn't predict Nick Zakelj to be on it, but I understand why he was. The 49ers were really, really excited about the offseason, the work that he put in physically, cut from 320 to about 305. He's built his body to the way the 49ers want their offensive linemen to look. Listen, they took a 9th offensive lineman because they fear that linemen, good ones and developing ones, are in such short supply around the NFL that they're going to get poached if you don't take them. So they're afraid somebody was going to poach Nick Zakelj. So they took him on the 53-man roster. He's not the first guy off the bench on the interior. That's John Feliciano. They can let Zakelj continue to develop. Zakelj at every single level. So we go back to high school in the Cleveland area. Then we go to college at Fordham in the Bronx. At every single level, he was terrible to begin, and then he was great to end. So this guy's a fast learner, really fast learner. I got to tweet that article about Nick Zakelj. Let me put it up on the screen, actually. He was a 0-star recruit. He rose from 0-star recruit to NFL draft pick. We get this open up on the screen for you. I think you guys might appreciate this article. I'll get this tweeted out to the followers. How the 49ers Nick Zakelj rose from 0-star recruit to NFL draft pick. This is how you're going to understand why Nick Zakelj made this roster. I'm going to post this on the comment section. You can go ahead and check out the link. You could just type in this headline too. And I need to put this on Twitter, so give me a brief second. Hopefully the live keeps on growing. To understand the 49ers' belief in Nick Zakelj, it's important to do some research on his football background. They did that last year. Zakelj started rough and blossomed very quickly. The 49ers see similar signs of that now. All right, I'll read you what I wrote here. It's up on Twitter now. To understand the 49ers' belief in Nick Zakelj, it's vital to do some research on his football background. I did that last year. At both the high school and college level, Zakelj started rough and blossomed very quickly. The 49ers see similar signs of that now. So one of the quotes in here was he takes people over mentally. By the way, Nick Zakelj went to Fordham. It's Vince Lombardi's alma mater, not David Lombardi's alma mater, Vince Lombardi's alma mater. So, yeah, anyway, Mike asked me what the most surprising development for the 49ers was as far as the 53-man roster. I think Zakelj making it qualifies as that because I didn't see anything else that really shocked me up and down the roster. But there were a few close calls, and this is one of them that the 49ers decided to go the second-year lineman's way. I mean, why shouldn't there be big expectations for the 49ers defense? They were number one in the NFL last year, and they've got more star power this year. Now, of course, you should be concerned if Nick Bosa doesn't sign by week one. Nick Bosa is so valuable. I ran the numbers in 2020 versus 2019, and that's the year that they were missing the two edge rushers for most of the year, right? Nick Bosa and Dee Ford. The 49ers were like 12 expected points per game worse than they were in 2019. They had a lot of injury issues. I get it in 2020, but the main domino was Nick Bosa. So yeah, if Nick Bosa's not around, the defense isn't as good. But this defense is better at the linebacker level than it was at its peak in 2019. I think they're better at the linebacker level than they were last year, even without Azeez Al-Shire, because you got so much depth there, and Warner and Greenlaw are only getting better. They're better in the secondary this year. That was one big development over training camp was Ambry Thomas, Samuel Womack, giving the 49ers some confidence behind Deommodore Lenoir. Enough confidence to where they say, hey, we can move Demo inside and we could specialize with Demo and then mix and match in Isaiah Oliver because we believe enough in the outside corner play of Ambry Thomas and or Samuel Womack. So across the board, I think this defense is just as good or better than last year because they have Javon Hargrave up front. Bosa is the massive domino, but if they get everybody on this team in the building and everybody stays healthy, this defense, I mean, the sky's the limit. Now, there might be an adjustment period to Steve Wilks. If they're going to blitz a lot, you're going to put guys on islands. Blitzing in the NFL is feast or famine. So there might be some famine for the 49ers when they blitz early in the season. So I wouldn't be too alarmed if they're giving up a big play here, a big play there, because they're still getting used to the blitzing. Steve Wilks is still getting used to his personnel. But it's about how you finish, not about how you start. The 2021 defense was a lot like that, right? DeMeco Ryans, first-year coordinator, wasn't that great early on, but the 49ers hit their stride later. I think that if it works that way, I wouldn't be shocked, and I wouldn't want to get out the pitchforks for anybody. That being said, Steve Wilks is a whole lot more experienced as a DC than DeMeco Ryans was when he started as a DC for the 49ers, or as Robert Saleh was when he started as a defensive coordinator for the 49ers. So there's a chance the 49ers don't skip a beat here. I do think that a lot of this, though, comes back down to Bosa, who is just so important to have out there for the 49ers. We got a prediction that Bosa will sign by Friday. We shall see. I am looking for more questions. People are talking about food now. I love it. I got a great sandwich in North Beach today. I'm sure the 2,000 plus of you that were watching saw me hit Little Vine, the little sandwich spot in North Beach. Good stuff. I could toss it back up on the screen later in the live if you want me to. JA predicts Bosa will sign week 2. He wants to see the Niners sweat. So if the Niners sweat a little bit without Bosa in week 1, yeah, maybe they cave to his demands. At the end of the day, it's about who needs the other party more. Do the 49ers need Nick Bosa more, or does Nick Bosa need the 49ers more than him? Sorry. Does Nick I think that came out wrong. Do the 49ers need Nick Bosa more than Nick Bosa needs them? Or you could frame it, does Nick Bosa need the 49ers more than the 49ers need him? I'm going to tweet that out. Let's get a good tweet out here. Does Nick Bosa need the 49ers more than the 49ers need him? Or do the 49ers... This is making my head hurt. This is like a tongue twister. Need Nick Bosa more than he needs them. Now, I don't know if I need to have both questions. Does Nick Bosa need the 49ers more than the 49ers need him? Or do the 49ers need Nick Bosa more than he needs them? Nick Bosa need 49ers. 49ers need Nick Bosa. 49ers need Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa need the 49ers. Okay, cool. You can frame the primary question in whatever order you want. But this is what determines leverage. Yeah, I'm going to read this out loud to you guys. Hopefully you like my tweet. All right, I'm about to send it. You can frame the primary question in whatever order you want, but this is what determines leverage. Does Nick Bosa need the 49ers more than the 49ers need him? Or do the 49ers need Nick Bosa more than he needs them? Discuss. Is that good? Thumbs up? Give me a thumbs up and we'll send a tweet. Looking for more questions. I sent it out. Good. We got a thumbs up. I'm glad. Is it time to bring back Jordan Willis and Trent Taylor? It might be. They might need a punt returner to be comfortable, a veteran in that spot. They might want another defensive end. We'll see. I mean, players don't stay constant either. I mean, Trent Taylor might be better, worse, He could be the same as he was when he left the 49ers. I mean, he left as a guy who had been hit by a lot of injuries. So you do your scouting and you have to determine what type of player he is now versus a couple years ago. Jordan Willis, I mean, it has been several months since he was with the 49ers. The Raiders had a deep defensive line. I was impressed by the Raiders' defensive line in the joint practices. So to me, maybe it's not that surprising that Jordan Willis got cut, but maybe there is room for him on the 49ers, especially if Nick Bosa is still currently holding out. I'm looking at answers to my Bosa tweet. First answer says 10,000%. I didn't even know that was possible to be 10,000%. 49ers need Bosa more. Not even close. Somebody says trade Bosa. Then Kevin on Twitter or X says they both need each other. I think they both need each other is the it doesn't have to be 100% one side. Nick Bosa needs the 49ers more, and 100% on the other side. The 49ers need Nick Bosa more. It's usually a percentage that's somewhere near the middle. Maybe it tilts a little bit toward Bosa. Maybe it tilts a little bit toward the 49ers. But since there's equal need coming from both sides, that's why these contract situations almost always get done, because it is in both parties' best interest for it to get done. Now, the percentage of leverage, if it's more on Nick Bosa's side or if it's more on the 49ers side, the percentage of leverage is what's going to determine who gets the more favorable deal. Just like a functional couple, somebody says. They both need each other. So Gopher Baroque says it's a little bit more the 49ers need Bosa. If that's the case, then he's probably going to be able to get a little bit closer to his terms. I mean, let's discuss. Nick Bosa is scheduled to make $17.9 million this year. He doesn't want to play on that contract. So from a very technical standpoint, every single week that he doesn't show up and doesn't play, Nick Bosa will be losing about $1 million. Can he absorb that? Discuss. I don't know. I mean, those are the stakes. But I think the stakes also are a little bit more complex than that, because every single week that he doesn't show up and play and sign his contract that the 49ers have offered for him, it's going to be worth more money per week, right, than the one that he's currently playing on. So Bosa will actually be forfeiting a larger sum of cash than just the $1 million per week, because you would think this would start to eat into his earnings at some point if he's not playing in the regular season. So Bosa stands to lose monetarily. Bosa also loves playing football. I don't think that he's happy just sitting in his gym. I think that he's going to start getting some FOMO if the 49ers play week one and he's not there. On the other hand, so that's what Bosa loses if this doesn't resolve itself. What do the 49ers lose? Well, they lose the defensive player of the year. They lose somebody who has made their defense a possession to two better. That's how good Nick Bosa is. A possession to two, that could be the tipping point in many NFL games. Unfortunately, we won't, this might go week by week. If Bosa's holdout extends into the season and the 49ers beat the Steelers, well, the 49ers have theoretically in the short term, and you're going to be doing this negotiation in the short term, a little bit more leverage. Oh, hey, we can go win on the road without you. If they lose to the Steelers, that's when their feet are really held to the fire. I don't think that this is going to be fully rational if it stretches into the regular season. It's not going to be cooler heads prevail. Oh, the team will be fine. This will happen. Then, no, the heat of the moment, there's going to be pressure to get a contract done. You lose to the Steelers. Bosa's not there. The 49ers definitely, I think, will be sweating a little bit more than if they beat the Steelers. So you balance out those two things and you decide who needs the other side more. And that's usually what's going to push this contract negotiation in one way or the other. Why hasn't Robbie Gold signed anywhere? I don't think he retired. I think that Robbie Gould might be A, waiting for the right opportunity, B, might have been a little bit passed by some of the younger kickers in the National Football League. I think he only made 67% of his kicks from 40 to 49 last year. So Robbie, I mean, age is catching up to Robbie. He might still have a good season in him, but that's definitely something that might scare some teams away. So I think the 49ers are also, I don't think Robbie Gould's interested in just keeping Jake Moody's seat warm. So I don't know if the 49ers have contacted him about their current situation. Trust me, they will have a kicker week one, whether it's a practice squad guy or it's Jake Moody coming back. Who's the most likely to get poached from the potential practice squad? Well, let's get this up there on the screen. Most likely to get poached from this list. Coletto, I know a lot of teams liked him, probably higher up on the list. I can see somebody trying to grab Marcelino McCrary Ball. I think he's already had a year of seasoning under his belt. That could be another one. Potentially, maybe Deshaun Jameson, but man. Yeah, so maybe McCrary Ball and Coletto. I know some people are talking about Ilm Manning, but that's a developmental guard. Yeah, so I mean, people love their offensive linemen, but they love the measurables. And I don't know if Ilm Manning at 6'2" has the measurables that would be up for a poaching. I can believe that Ilm Manning didn't make the team. I mean, he is the ultimate underdog. He's a 6'2" tackle. I was the guy that was hyping him up first. That was the guy that brought Ilm Manning to everybody's attention after the Raiders game. This is an underdog story. Those typically don't end with 53-man roster invites rookie season out of UDFA status. So typically you got to fight the hard way through the practice squad. Again, most tackles in the NFL are at least 6'5". Ilm Manning was 6'2". That's what made this a great underdog story. They view him as a guard in the future. He didn't get any work at guard. So they're going to, I mean, the fact there's no guard film on Ilm Manning means he's way less likely to get picked up on waivers, which means he's way more likely to be there for the 49ers to sign to their practice squad. And once that happens, well, then the sky's the limit for Ilm Manning. He could start working again, right? Maybe the sky isn't the limit since he's only 6'2", but you get the point. You just have to give him a shot, and I think the 49ers want to. They just have to run the opportunity cost of whether or not they want to include him on the 53-man roster. Well, the problem is, guys, I work two jobs, right? I bring you my writing work through this job, but after games, I write. So I do my instant reaction on a video. That's great. But I have to write. I'm not like these people that just get to sit around and talk to the camera all day. It might seem like it because I do a lot of it, but I have to write. My stuff is up on The Athletic. You should support my writing by going to The Athletic and subscribing to the 49ers 53-man roster breakdown or to this Nick Zakel article. And if you do that, then maybe I could bring you more and more video content. How about that? It's $1 a month right now, so the support would be much appreciated. Rumor mill from some rando on Reddit, says Mike. That's kind of funny. No, we do not think that Bosa is being traded. Yep, I also teach. I do a lot, man. I do a lot. I also just got married. It's a busy life. No kids yet, though, so that'll make it busier, I'm sure, at some point. This all depends on Brock Purdy's health. Brock Purdy's really good. Jimmy Garoppolo was really good. I mean, both of these quarterbacks were solid quarterbacks for the 49ers, and Purdy still is, but Jimmy Garoppolo didn't stay healthy enough, which is a huge reason of why they moved on from him. The other reason was the salary cap. So it's really, really vital for Brock Purdy to prove that he can stay healthy. Trey Lance couldn't prove that. Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't prove that with them. And we'll see where Brock Purdy ends up in that regard. But I shared the graphic this morning, and I tweeted a whole heck of a lot today. I could pop the graphic open on the screen. This is quarterback expected points added per play over the course of the past 2 seasons. Top 10 in the league, right? Patrick Mahomes 1, Jimmy Garoppolo 2, Brock Purdy 3. Now, they had to work with Shanahan. Every single quarterback has to work with his play caller to get the job done. Well, I think they worked with Shanahan pretty damn well to put up those kind of numbers. That's efficiency for quarterbacks. That's the goal right there. So, yeah, Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, here's the thing. If you told the 49ers 2 years ago, I can give you Jimmy Garoppolo efficiency at a rookie QB price, they would make that deal in an instant. Absolutely. Make it in an instant. That's something that I've got to tweet right now. Big picture tweet. I had an idea. I always hate it is hard sometimes to take some of this stuff and drag it into the Twitter interface. Very frustrating. I might have to wait to do this, guys. I had a great idea. I wanted to tweet it, and unfortunately, the internet is not going to be as cooperative as I wanted it to be. Very sad, very sad, very sad. I'll look into it in a little bit after we're done with this live. I should spend more time with my wife. Don't worry, I'm going to see her in a couple days. She's not here right now. So the season makes things a little bit harder, but we got a good schedule. We're on the schedule. We're both working hard. Oh, appreciate you, man. If you do sign up for The Athletic, make sure you sign up through one of the articles that I put up on the screen. I've written a lot of big ones lately and a lot more big ones coming. So I appreciate you a lot. Best player not named Bosa is Trent Williams or Christian McCaffrey. The glory about football is that these guys all play such different roles. So it's impossible to compare Christian McCaffrey and Trent Williams because they have markedly different jobs. One thing I am not is a clout chaser. I feel people chase me to try to get clout, but I am just here to talk football. You guys know that I love doing it. And I'm here to give you good food recommendations too. Oh, I promised I would do that at the end of the show. So why don't I do it? Why don't I hold on to my word? This was the Little Vine in North Beach. It was a very, very good sandwich for lunch. Now, the Little Vine, this is one of those places that will serve one sandwich a day, but it's going to be a different sandwich every day. So today was pastrami. Tomorrow's going to be something else. It's up there, right? One block above Washington Square. I went down and ate it on the square. It was really damn good pastrami. So if you're somebody that watches this channel frequently, you know, we like to talk about food. I'm going to find another spot for you guys tomorrow, maybe for breakfast, and we'll go from there. Got a question here from Kevin. If the 49ers waive Brandon Allen, can they still carry another emergency's third quarterback and find another player to replace him? Yeah, it makes sense. The third emergency third quarterback to be eligible for that loophole needs to be on the 53-man roster. So they didn't. They can't waive Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen's a vested veteran. You'd release him. You wouldn't waive him. They didn't release him. He's on the football team right now. He is the emergency third quarterback. But if they decided to swap him for somebody else later on, they could, and then that guy could be the emergency third quarterback. So not a bad question. Hopefully that answers it. Ernie says good pastrami is so hard to find. Well, you could find it whenever they're serving it at the Little Vine in North Beach. That was today's lunch. California sourdough in San Jose. We got a recommendation. All right. I'll be on top of that. That's going to be on the list. I'm going to search for that here in just a second. All right. We've gone 45 minutes. I think we've peaked in show size, so it's all good. 49ers Q&A is over. Everybody, make sure you head on out and check out the 49ers 53-man roster projection that I have prepared for you. This is from me and Matt Barrows. Link is in the description. Sign up to The Athletic now. Day full of content. More coming tomorrow. Remember, I was doing different locations of San Francisco today. I was giving you guys the lowdown on every single position group. That's going to continue tomorrow. Every single position group for the 53-man roster. That'll continue tomorrow. And then we have got Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch in the afternoon. So big couple days coming up with the 49ers front office, speaking about the 53-man tomorrow. And then we move to the practice, the final practice of the week 0, which is what we're in right now on Thursday. Labor Day weekend after that. And then it's time for Pittsburgh. Exciting stuff. Everybody, have fun. Have a good night. Bye now.